Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the stars through the main screen. His crew worked quietly around him. They were 3 months into their deep space mission, looking for new planets that humans might visit someday. It was peaceful work, and Deho liked it that way. "Captain," said Communications Officer Hyjin, her voice tight with worry, "I'm getting something strange. It's not from Earth." Deho walked over to her station. "What kind of something?" "A signal. It's coming from outside the solar system. And, Captain, it's clearly not natural. Someone is trying to talk to us." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. In all of human history, no one had ever received a message from aliens. Deho felt his heart beat faster. "Put it on the main screen," he said. The image that appeared made everyone gasp. A creature unlike anything from Earth looked back at them. It had 4 arms, gray skin that looked like stone, and eyes that glowed red. Behind it, Deho could see what looked like a massive ship. "Primitive species of Sol 3, the creature said. In perfect English, though its voice sounded like grinding metal. "You have been observed. Your reckless expansion ends now." The alien gestured with one of its hands. The screen filled with images that made Deho's blood run cold. Huge ships, bigger than cities, floating in space. Weapons that could destroy entire planets with a single shot. Worlds burning while strange creatures watched from the sky. "Turn back to your home system," the alien continued. "Do not venture beyond your Kuiper belt. This is your only warning. The Valthic hegemony does not repeat itself." More images flashed. On the screen, aliens in chains, working in mines. Cities in ruins. Species that looked like they had once been proud and free, now kneeling before creatures like the one speaking to them. "Your ships will not leave the Sol system again. Your people will stay on their small world. If you try to expand, you will be stopped. If you ignore this warning, you will be destroyed. The choice is yours." The transmission ended. The bridge stayed silent for a long moment. "Get me Admiral Yunji," Deho said finally, "right now." Within minutes, Admiral Yunji's face appeared on another screen. She was Earth's best military leader, a woman who had never lost a battle. Even she looked shocked when Deho told her what had happened. "Send me everything," she said. "Every detail of that transmission. And Captain, don't talk to anyone else about this yet. We need to handle this carefully." 2 hours later, Deho found himself in a video conference with the most important people on Earth. President So Young looked calm, but Deho could see worry in her eyes. Ambassador Jae-sung sat next to her, along with General Taemin and Dr. Kyung-ho, Earth's top expert on alien life. "Show them the message," Admiral Yunji said. They watched the aliens' warning in silence. When it ended, President So Young spoke first. "How many of these aliens are there?" she asked. Dr. Kyung-ho cleared his throat. "Based on what we just saw, they control many star systems. Maybe thousands. Their technology is clearly much more advanced than ours." "But they're afraid," said Ambassador Jae-sung. Everyone looked at him. "Think about it. If they're so powerful, why warn us at all? Why not just destroy us or ignore us completely?" General Taemin nodded slowly. "He has a point. You don't warn ants to stay away from your picnic. You just step on them. So what are you saying?" President So Young asked. "I'm saying they see us as a threat," Ambassador Jae-sung replied. "Maybe not now, but someday. They're trying to stop us before we become dangerous to them." Dr. Kyung-ho was studying the alien images on his tablet. "Look at these other species they showed us. They all look defeated, broken. But notice something else. They all look different from each other. The hegemony has conquered many different kinds of aliens, which means they've had practice at this," Admiral Yunji said grimly. Over the next few days, Earth's leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to obey the aliens. "We're not ready for war with beings who can destroy planets," said Defense Minister Chang Su during one heated meeting. Others disagreed. "If we give in now, we'll never be free," argued Space Program Director B.O. Ram. "They'll keep us trapped on Earth forever." The debate went on for weeks. Scientists studied every frame of the alien message. Military leaders made plans for both war and peace. Diplomats tried to figure out how to talk to beings who seemed to think humans were nothing more than dangerous animals. But slowly, one fact became clear to everyone: the aliens had made a mistake. By threatening humanity, they had revealed their own fear. And humans, Daeho knew, did not respond well to threats. Captain Wu Jin, who commanded another deep space ship, said it best during a meeting with all the ship captains. "My grandfather fought in wars on Earth. He used to tell me something. Never threaten someone unless you're ready to follow through. And never assume that being bigger means you'll win." President So-young called for a final vote. The choice was simple: obey the aliens and stay trapped in the solar system, or defy them and face the consequences. The vote wasn't even close. "We are not a species that accepts cages," President So-young announced to the world that evening. "We have spent our entire history pushing beyond every boundary, climbing every mountain, crossing every ocean, and reaching for every star. We will not stop now because someone told us we're not allowed to continue." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "To the Valthic hegemony, if you're listening to this, we received your warning. We understand your threat. But humanity has never been good at following orders from bullies. We're coming to meet you, not as conquerors, but as equals. If you want to talk, we'll talk. If you want to fight, we'll fight. But we will not hide." In his quarters that night, Daeho looked out at the stars and wondered what would happen next. The aliens thought they could frighten humanity into submission. They were about to learn that some species only grow stronger when threatened. The universe was about to discover what humans were truly capable of when someone told them they couldn't do something. And Daeho had a feeling the aliens weren't going to like what they found. 6 months had passed since the alien warning, and Earth looked like a completely different world. Every major city buzzed with activity day and night. Factories that used to make cars now built spaceship parts. Scientists who studied ocean life now worked on alien technology. The entire planet had one goal: get ready for what was coming. Commander Minho stood in the middle of the largest laboratory Earth had ever built. Around him, hundreds of engineers worked on projects that would have been impossible just a year ago. They were trying to understand alien technology using only the information from that first threatening message. "The energy readings don't make sense," said Engineer Sujin, looking frustrated as she stared at her computer screen. "Their shields seem to work completely differently than ours." Minho walked over to look at her work. Sujin was brilliant, one of the best engineers Earth had ever produced. If she was confused, the problem was truly difficult. "Show me what you found," he said. Datsu-Jin pulled up images from the alien transmission. "Look at their ships. See how the energy flows around them? Our shields try to stop incoming attacks by making a barrier. But their shields seem to bend attacks away instead of stopping them." "Like water flowing around a rock," Minho said, understanding. "Exactly. But here's the interesting part. I think our way might actually be better in some situations." Minho raised an eyebrow. "Better? Their technology is clearly more advanced than ours." Sujin smiled for the first time in weeks. "More advanced, yes, but not necessarily better. Look at this." She showed him a simulation on her screen. "Their shields are great against energy weapons, but they use a lot of power. Our shields use less energy, and they're actually stronger against physical attacks." "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking we don't copy their technology, we improve on it. We combine their ideas with our ideas and make something new." Across the city, Captain Dongwu was training the volunteers who would crew humanity's first real starship fleet. These weren't just soldiers. They were explorers, scientists, diplomats, and engineers. Each person had volunteered knowing they might never come home. "Remember," Dongwu told his trainees during their morning session, "we're not going out there to start a war. We're going to meet these aliens as equals. That means we need to be ready for anything." Communications Officer Haijin, who had first received the alien message, was now training other communication specialists. "The aliens spoke perfect English," she explained to her students. "That means they've been watching us for a long time." They know our languages, our culture, maybe even our weaknesses. We need to learn about them just as much. The work was hard and never-ending, but humans had always been good at working together when things got tough. Cities that had been rivals, for centuries now shared their best scientists. Countries that had been enemies sent their resources to help build the fleet. For the first time in human history, the entire species was working toward the same goal Dr. Yunji had been put in charge of strategy. She was a small woman with a quiet voice, but her mind was sharp as a knife. She spent her days studying everything humanity had learned about the aliens. They call themselves the Valthic Hegemony, she explained to President So Young during one of their daily meetings. The word hegemony means they rule through dominance and fear. They don't negotiate. They don't compromise. They simply tell other species what to do. And if those species refuse, President So Young asked, they destroy them. Based on the images in their message, they've done it many times before. President So Young was quiet for a moment. Dr. Yunji, in your professional opinion, do we have any chance of defeating them in a direct fight? Dr. Yunji was honest. No, their technology is too advanced and they have too many ships. If we try to fight them the way they expect us to fight, we'll lose. But, Dr. Yunji smiled, but they don't understand humans very well. They think we're just another species they can intimidate. They're wrong. Meanwhile, the alerts kept coming. 3 times a week, massive alien constructs appeared at the edge of the solar system. They didn't attack, but they watched everything. Every ship that left Earth was scanned by these alien sentries. Admiral Changsu studied the reports from these encounters. They're learning about us, he told his staff. Every time we send out a ship, they examine our technology. They're trying to figure out our capabilities. Should we stop sending ships? Asked his aide. No, Admiral Changsu said firmly. Let them watch. We're learning about them too. And it was true. Each encounter taught humanity something new about alien technology. The sentries were powerful, but they followed predictable patterns. They were controlled from somewhere else, not making their own decisions. Most importantly, they seemed surprised by human adaptability. Look at this, said navigation specialist Ji Wu during a briefing. Every time we change our approach, the sentries take several minutes to adapt. They have to wait for new orders from whoever controls them. That's a weakness, observed Captain Hay-1. In a real fight, those few minutes could make all the difference. The construction of the human fleet was the most ambitious project in history. 12 ships, each one incorporating the best of human engineering and the lessons learned from studying alien technology. The flagship would be called Defiance, a name that perfectly captured humanity's attitude toward the alien threat. Admiral Yunji would command the fleet personally. She had volunteered for the mission despite knowing she would probably not return to Earth. Someone needs to speak for humanity out there, she had told President So Young. It might as well be me. The ships were smaller than the alien vessels, shown in the warning, but they were built with human ingenuity. They were faster, more maneuverable, and designed to work together as a team rather than rely on a single command structure. Engineer Sujin's breakthrough with the shield technology had been implemented in all the ships. The new shields combined alien energy-bending techniques with human barrier technology. They used less power than pure alien shields, but were stronger than pure human shields. It's not about being better than them, Sujin explained to the fleet commanders. It's about being different in ways they don't expect. As the launch date approached, Earth prepared for the possibility that the mission might fail. Defense grids were built around major cities. Weapons that could fight alien technology were manufactured and distributed. If the fleet didn't succeed, Earth would be ready to defend itself, but most humans believed the mission would succeed, not because they thought they were stronger than the aliens, but because they refused to believe otherwise. Captain Deho, who would pilot the lead scout ship, spoke for many when he addressed the crew during their final training session. The aliens think they can scare us into staying home. They think we're like the other species they've conquered. They're wrong. We're not going out there to surrender or to beg. We're going to show them that some species can't be threatened into submission. The night before launch, President So Young gave a speech that was broadcast to every human on Earth and throughout the solar system. Tomorrow, our bravest sons and daughters will leave Earth to meet an alien empire that has threatened our future. They go not as conquerors, but as representatives of everything humanity stands for. Our curiosity, our courage, our refusal to accept limits that others place on us. She paused, looking up at the stars visible through the transparent dome of the launch facility. To those who are leaving tomorrow, you carry with you the hopes and dreams of every human who has ever looked at the stars and wondered what was out there. To the aliens who think they can intimidate us, you are about to learn that humanity has never been good at accepting cages, no matter how powerful the jailer. The fleet would launch at dawn. Humanity was ready to meet its destiny. Among the stars, the human fleet left Earth's orbit at sunrise, 12 ships heading toward the unknown. Admiral Yunji stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching her home planet grow smaller behind them. She had known this moment would come, but seeing Earth disappear still made her heart heavy. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," said Commander Haewon, her second in command. Course set for the outer rim of hegemony space. Admiral Yunji nodded. "Captain Daeho, take your scout ships ahead. I want to know what we're flying into before we get there." Captain Daeho's voice came through the communications system from his ship, the Pioneer. "Understood, Admiral. We'll see you on the other side." The journey would take 6 months using humanity's fastest engines. It was a long time to spend in space, but the crew stayed busy. They studied everything they knew about the aliens, practiced combat maneuvers, and prepared for first contact with an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Science. Officer Young Ho spent his days cataloging new discoveries. Space beyond Earth's solar system was full of wonders that human scientists had only dreamed about. Strange nebulae that glowed with impossible colors. Asteroids made of materials that didn't exist on Earth. Gas giants with rings that sparkled like diamonds. "Look at this," Young Ho said to navigation specialist Ji Woo, showing her his latest readings. "These cosmic phenomena are incredible. How did the hegemony claim ownership of all this?" Ji Woo studied the data. "Maybe that's the problem. They think they own everything, so they never really look at it anymore." 3 weeks into the journey, they found their first sign that other intelligent life had once traveled these paths. Captain Wu Jin, commanding the science vessel Discovery, reported finding an abandoned space station. "It's old," he told Admiral Yunji over the communication link. "Maybe 1,000 years, but it's clearly artificial." "Any signs of who built it?" Admiral Yunji asked. "That's the strange part. It looks like it was abandoned quickly. Like whoever lived here left in a hurry." Admiral Yunji made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of the journey. "Send a team over to investigate, but be careful." The team that boarded the station found something that chilled them to the bone. The station had been home to a species that looked similar to humans but taller and with blue skin. They had been advanced, artistic, and apparently peaceful. Their art covered the walls, showing scenes of family life and natural beauty, but the final room the team found told a different story. Archaeologist Song Mi, who had volunteered for the mission because she wanted to meet alien cultures, discovered what looked like a memorial wall. Images of the blue-skinned people were carved into metal, along with symbols that clearly represented sorrow and loss. "They knew they were dying," Song Mi reported to Admiral Yunji. "This is a monument to their entire species, and look at this." She sent an image that made everyone on the fleet go quiet. At the center of the memorial was a carving of creatures that looked exactly like the aliens who had threatened Earth, the Valthic hegemony. "They destroyed an entire civilization here," Admiral Yunji said quietly. "Just wiped them out." Over the following weeks, they found more abandoned stations and dead worlds. Each discovery told the same story. Species that had once been free and proud, reduced to nothing because they had dared to resist the hegemony, but instead of discouraging the human fleet, these discoveries made them more determined. Captain Dongwu spoke for many when he said, "We can't let this happen to Earth. We can't let these aliens turn humanity into another memorial on an abandoned space station." Halfway through their journey, they encountered something that changed everything. A massive alien fleet appeared on their sensors, moving to intercept them. "Hegemony ships," reported Captain Deho from his scout position. 12 vessels much larger than ours. They're demanding we stop. Admiral Yunji had prepared for this moment. All ships, battle formation. But nobody fires unless they fire first. "We came here to talk, not to fight." The alien fleet surrounded the human ships. On the main screen, the same type of creature that had warned Earth appeared. This one wore what looked like military decorations and spoke with the confidence of someone used to instant obedience. "Humans of Sol 3, the alien commander said. "You were warned to stay in your home system. You have violated the laws of the hegemony. Surrender your ships and prepare to be taken into custody." Admiral Yunji stepped forward. "I am Admiral Yunji of the Earth Defense Fleet. We come seeking diplomatic contact with your government. We have harmed no one and threatened no one." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Diplomacy? Lesser species do not negotiate with the hegemony. You obey or you are destroyed. Those are your only choices." "Then you clearly don't understand humans very well," Admiral Yunji replied calmly. What happened next shocked both the aliens and many of the humans. Captain Wujin, commanding the Discovery, spoke directly to the alien commander. "We have a counteroffer," he said. "Safe passage through your space in exchange for a formal meeting with your government. We have information about other species in the galaxy that might interest you." The alien commander seemed confused. No species had ever made a counteroffer to the hegemony before. "You are in no position to negotiate, humans." "Actually, we are," said Captain Wujin. "You have 12 ships. We have 12 ships. You're bigger, but we're faster. If you want to fight us, some of you will die. Maybe all of you. Is that really worth it just to avoid a conversation?" For several long minutes, the two fleets faced each other in silence. Then the alien commander made a decision that revealed something important about the hegemony. Instead of considering the human offer, he attacked. The battle that followed was unlike anything the aliens expected. Human ships were smaller and weaker, but they moved like a school of fish, working together in ways the alien commander had never seen. While his ships tried to target individual human vessels, the entire human fleet acted as one organism. Captain Deho's scout ship used its speed to confuse alien targeting systems. Engineer Sujin's shield modifications allowed human ships to survive hits that should have destroyed them. Most importantly, human crews adapted to changing battle conditions faster than alien crews who waited for orders from their commander. The fight lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, 3 alien ships were disabled, and the rest were retreating. The human fleet had taken damage, but all 12 ships were still operational. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Haijin, "we're receiving a transmission from the retreating aliens." "Put it through," Admiral Yunji said. The alien commander appeared on screen again. But now he looked different, shocked, confused, maybe even afraid. "This is impossible," he said. "You are a primitive species. How did you ... "We're human," Admiral Yunji interrupted. "That's how. And now we're going to continue to your government to have that diplomatic meeting. You can try to stop us again, or you can escort us safely. Your choice." The alien commander's image disappeared without another word. As the human fleet continued toward hegemony space, they intercepted communications that revealed something remarkable. News of the battle was spreading through alien communication networks. For the first time in the hegemony's history, a primitive species had defeated their ships in open combat on worlds throughout the sector. Other species who had been conquered by the hegemony were asking themselves a question they had never dared ask before. If these small humans could fight the hegemony and win, what was stopping everyone else? Admiral Yunji realized that humanity had already achieved something important even before reaching their destination. They had shown the galaxy that the hegemony could be beaten. "Admiral," said Captain Deho over the communication system, "I'm picking up a lot of chatter on alien frequencies." "It sounds like we've got their attention." Admiral Yunji smiled grimly. "Good, that was the point. The hegemony rules through fear. Once people stop being afraid, empires like this start to fall apart." The human fleet pressed forward, carrying with them the hopes of not just humanity, but every species in the galaxy that dreamed of freedom. The human fleet arrived at Korath Prime 3 days after their battle with the Hegemony Patrol. The planet was massive, twice the size of Earth, covered in gleaming cities that stretched from pole to pole. It looked like the capital of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. "Impressive," admitted Science Officer Young Ho as he studied the planet through the ship's sensors. "The energy readings from those cities are incredible. This single planet probably has more advanced technology than our entire solar system." Admiral Yunji stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the alien world grow larger on the main screen. Around Korath Prime, hundreds of ships moved in careful patterns. Some were clearly military vessels, bristling with weapons. Others looked like cargo ships, carrying goods between the planet and the stars. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Haijin, "we're being contacted by Planetary Defense. They're demanding we identify ourselves and state our business." "Tell them we're the diplomatic mission from Earth," Admiral Yunji said. "We request a formal audience with the sector governor." The response came quickly, and it was not what anyone expected. Instead of weapons fire or demands to surrender, the aliens seemed confused. "You request what?" The alien voice sounded genuinely puzzled. "Primitive species do not request audiences. They are brought before us in chains." "Diplomatic corps?" Chief Sujin stepped forward. She had spent months preparing for this moment, studying every detail of the alien transmission that started this whole journey. "We are not primitive," she said calmly. "We are humans from the planet Earth. We defeated your patrol fleet 3 days ago. We come seeking formal diplomatic relations with the Valthic hegemony." The long silence that followed told the humans everything they needed to know. In all their history, the hegemony had never had anyone voluntarily come to them asking for a meeting. They literally didn't know what to do. Finally, a new voice came over the communication system. This one sounded older, more cautious. "I am Governor Velthresh of the Korath sector. Your species was warned to remain in your home system. By coming here, you have broken hegemony law. However, your unusual request has created a situation that requires consideration." Admiral Yungji exchanged glances with her diplomatic team. This was better than they had hoped. The aliens were actually willing to talk. "We accept responsibility for breaking your law," Sujin replied. "We came here because we believe our species can benefit from peaceful contact. We offer trade agreements, technological exchanges, and mutual defense pacts." Another long silence. Then Governor Velthresh spoke again, and his voice carried a tone that no hegemony official had ever used before: uncertainty. "Bring your diplomatic vessel to the capital city. You will be given safe passage for this meeting only. Do not mistake this for weakness or acceptance of your presence here." "Understood," Admiral Yunji said. "We thank you for your willingness to talk." The diplomatic meeting took place in a building that was clearly designed to intimidate. The ceiling stretched up hundreds of feet, covered in images of hegemony victories over other species. The walls were lined with weapons taken from conquered worlds. Everything about the room said the same thing. The hegemony was powerful, and everyone else was weak. Governor Velthresh was even more intimidating in person than in the original transmission. He stood nearly 10 feet tall, with 4 arms that ended in claws and red eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. Behind him stood a dozen other aliens, all armed and ready for trouble, but Ambassador Jae-sung had dealt with difficult negotiations before. He walked into the room as if he were attending a normal business meeting on Earth, showing no fear or intimidation. "Governor Velthresh," he said with a respectful bow, "thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I am Ambassador Jason, representing the people of Earth and humanity throughout the galaxy. Governor Velthresh studied the humans for a long moment. There were only 5 of them in the room. Ambassador Jason, Translator Hyunsu, Cultural Attachant Young, and 2 guards. They looked tiny compared to the aliens, but they stood straight and met the governor's gaze without flinching. "You are either very brave or very stupid," Governor Velthresh said finally. "No species has ever come to hegemony space voluntarily, after being warned away." "We prefer to think of ourselves as optimistic," Ambassador Jae-sung replied. "We believe that any intelligent species can find common ground if they're willing to talk about it." What followed was the strangest diplomatic meeting in galactic history. The humans didn't beg for mercy or offer to surrender. Instead, they talked about trade routes, shared scientific research, and cultural exchanges. They discussed the benefits of cooperation between different species and the advantages of peaceful expansion versus conquest. Cultural Attachant Young had brought examples of human art, music, and literature. She played recordings of human symphonies and showed images of Earth's greatest paintings. Governor Velthresh and his advisors watched in fascination as she explained how humans created beauty even while preparing for war. "Your species makes these things for no practical purpose?" one of the alien advisors asked. "We make them because they make us happy," Young replied. "Because beauty and creativity are part of what makes us human." The aliens exchanged glances. In the hegemony, everything existed for a purpose. Art was propaganda. Music was for military ceremonies. The idea of creating something just because it was beautiful was completely foreign to them, but what shocked the aliens most was humanity's complete lack of fear. Throughout the meeting, the humans acted as if they were talking to equals, not to the masters of a galactic empire. They asked questions about hegemony culture, offered solutions to problems they had noticed in the alien government, and suggested improvements to trade systems. "You speak as if you expect us to accept your proposals," Governor Velthresh said. "At one point, we hope you will," Ambassador Jesung replied. "But if not, we understand. Not every species is ready for change." The insult was so subtle that it took the aliens several seconds to realize what the human had just said. He had implied that the mighty hegemony was backward. Afraid of new ideas, Governor Velthresh's eyes blazed with anger, but before he could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the building. "What is happening?" he demanded. One of his aides rushed over with a communication device. "High Command is ordering the immediate execution of all humans in the sector. They say the diplomatic meeting was a mistake and must be corrected." Governor Velthresh looked from the communication device to the humans, who sat calmly in their chairs despite having just been sentenced to death. "You do not seem surprised," he observed. Ambassador Jae-sung shrugged. "We hoped for better, but we prepared for this possibility. The question now is, what are you going to do?" For the first time in his long career serving the hegemony, Governor Velthresh hesitated. These humans had shown him something he had never seen before. A species that treated the mighty empire as just another government, one that could be reasoned with, negotiated with, or if necessary, fought against. In all his years of service, every species brought before him had begged for mercy. These humans had offered partnership. "Governor," his aide said urgently, "High Command is waiting for confirmation that the execution order has been carried out." Governor Velthresh looked at the humans one more time. Ambassador Jae-sung met his gaze steadily, showing no fear even though death was only moments away. "Tell High Command there have been complications," Governor Velthresh said finally. "The humans are unusual. I require more time to evaluate the situation." His aide looked shocked. "Sir, High Command specifically ordered, I am the governor of this sector," Velthresh interrupted. "The humans are in my territory, and I will handle them as I see fit." But even as he spoke, the sound of approaching ships filled the air outside. High Command had sent a fleet to make sure their orders were carried out. Ambassador Jae-sung stood up calmly. "Governor, it seems your superiors don't trust your judgment." "That's unfortunate. We had hoped to work with reasonable beings like yourself." The battle sirens began wailing as hegemony warships took positions around the human embassy ship. But aboard the Defiance, Admiral Yunji was already giving orders that would change the galaxy forever. All ships, defensive positions around. The embassy vessel, if they want to fight, we'll give them one. But we came here to talk, and by God, we're going to finish this conversation. Admiral Yunji watched as hegemony warships surrounded the human embassy vessel. 24 alien ships, each one larger than any human vessel, moved into attack positions. The odds were impossible, but she had not come this far to surrender. Now, all ships, protect the embassy vessel, she ordered. Whatever happens, Ambassador Jae-sung and his team need time to finish their work. On the planet below, Governor Velthresh received urgent communications from the hegemony fleet commander. Governor, by order of High Command, all humans in this sector are to be destroyed immediately. Stand clear of the target area. Governor Velthresh looked at the humans still sitting calmly in his conference room. Ambassador Jae-sung was speaking quietly with his translator, showing no sign of panic even though destruction was only minutes away. "You are about to die?" Governor Velthresh told them. "Do you have any final words?" Ambassador Jae-sung stood up slowly. "Yes, actually, we came here in peace. We offered friendship. Your people chose violence instead. This is what happens when you threaten humanity." Above the planet, the battle began, but this was not the kind of fight the hegemony expected. Human ships did not form battle lines or try to match the alien ship for ship. Instead, they moved like a pack of wolves, fast and coordinated, striking at weak points and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Captain Taeho commanded the fast attack ship Lightning. His vessel darted between the larger alien ships, using its speed to avoid their heavy weapons while targeting their communication arrays. "If we can't beat them with firepower, we'll beat them with tactics," he told his crew as they dove under a massive hegemony cruiser, firing at its sensor. Nodes. Commander Minsu led a group of 3 ships in hit-and-run attacks that frustrated the alien fleet commander. Every time the hegemony ships tried to focus their fire, the human vessels would scatter, regroup, and attack from a different direction. But the most important part of the battle was not happening in space. Engineering Officer Dae-yoon had managed to hack into the hegemony's own communication networks. As the battle raged above, she began broadcasting the diplomatic sessions directly to every world in the sector. For the first time in the hegemony's history, subject species heard aliens being challenged as equals. They watched humans offer friendship and cooperation instead of begging for mercy. They saw a small group of beings who refused to be intimidated by an empire that had ruled through fear for thousands of years. The broadcast spread from world to world, carried by communication networks that the hegemony had built to control their empire. Within hours, billions of beings throughout the sector were watching the impossible. Humans fighting the mighty hegemony as equals. The turning point came when Captain Juneseo's ship, the Courage, took a direct hit from a hegemony battleship. His engines were failing, his weapons were offline, but instead of retreating, he made a decision that shocked both sides. He rammed his damaged ship directly through the hegemony flagship shields. "This is Captain Juneseo of the Earthship Courage." He broadcast on all frequencies as his ship tore through the alien vessel's hull. "We came in peace. We offered friendship. You chose violence. This is what happens when you threaten humanity." His ship exploded inside the alien flagship, destroying both vessels. But his message was heard across the sector, carried by the same networks that Dae-yoon had hacked, on world after world. Beings who had lived under hegemony rule for generations began to ask themselves a question: if these humans could sacrifice themselves to fight for freedom, what was stopping everyone else? Intelligence Officer Nahon intercepted panicked communications from Hegemony High Command. "Admiral, they're losing control. Subject species on 17 worlds are beginning to resist. The human defiance is spreading." Admiral Yunji felt a grim satisfaction. This was what she had hoped for. Not just a military victory, but proof that the hegemony could be challenged. The space battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the human fleet had lost 4 ships, but the hegemony fleet was in ruins. More importantly, the psychological. Victory was complete. The empire that had ruled through intimidation for thousands of years had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive on the planet below. Governor Velthresh watched the battle's end in stunned silence. His entire worldview had been shattered. The hegemony was supposed to be invincible. Lesser species were supposed to surrender without fighting. How? He asked Ambassador Jae-sung. How did you defeat a fleet more than twice your size? Ambassador. Jae-sung smiled sadly, thinking of the crews who had died to make this victory possible. We fought for something more important than territory or power. We fought for the right to be free. But the real shock came in the days that followed. Reports flooded in from across the sector. On Korath the 7th, the local population had overthrown their hegemony governor. On Veltar Prime, 3 species that had been enslaved for centuries declared their independence. On dozens of worlds, beings who had never dared to resist were standing up to their oppressors. It's spreading faster than we anticipated, reported Communications Officer Haijin to Admiral Yunji. The human victory is inspiring rebellions throughout the sector. Governor Velthresh found himself in an impossible position. High Command was demanding that he restore order, but his own people were beginning to question hegemony authority. Worse, many of his advisors were starting to suggest that the humans might have been right about the benefits of cooperation over conquest. Governor, said one of his senior aides, the humans are requesting another meeting. After everything that has happened, they still want to talk? Governor Velthresh asked. They say they have a proposal that might benefit everyone. The second meeting was very different from the first. This time, Governor Velthresh came alone, without weapons or guards. He met Ambassador Jae-sung in a simple room, not the intimidating chamber designed to frighten visitors. What do you want? Governor Velthresh asked. The same thing we wanted before, Ambassador Jae-sung replied. Peace, cooperation, a chance to build something better than an empire based on fear. The other subject species are rebelling. If the hegemony falls, there will be chaos throughout the galaxy, Ambassador Jae-sung nodded. There might be. Change is always difficult, but the alternative is worse. How long can an empire last when it rules only through terror? How many more species will the hegemony destroy before it finally collapses under its own weight? Governor Velthresh was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, What are you proposing? A transition, Ambassador Jae-sung said. Help us contact the leaders of the species that are rebelling. Let's work together to build a new kind of galactic community. One based on cooperation instead of conquest? And if I refuse? Ambassador Jae-sung shrugged. Then the rebellions will continue without our help. And eventually, the hegemony will fall anyway. The only question is whether we build something better to replace it or whether the galaxy descends into chaos. Governor Velthresh realized that the humans had given him no choice at all. They had not conquered the hegemony through military might. They had done something far more devastating. They had shown the galaxy that the empire could be defeated. I will contact the rebel leaders, he said finally. But I cannot speak for High Command. We understand, Ambassador Jae-sung replied. Change takes time, but it has to start somewhere. As Governor Velthresh left the meeting, he wondered if he was making the right choice. The hegemony had ruled for thousands of years. Could these humans really build something better? Behind him, Ambassador Jae-sung was already planning humanity's next move. The battle was won, but the real work was just beginning. Building a new galaxy would be harder than defeating the old one, but humans had never been afraid of difficult tasks. And now they had allies who shared their dream of freedom. 6 months had passed since the battle at Korath Prime, and the galaxy looked completely different. What had once been the mighty Valthic hegemony was now just one government among many, forced to negotiate with species they had once ruled through. Fear, Captain Daeho stood on the bridge of his new ship, the explorer watching a sight that would have been impossible just a year ago. Human vessels flew alongside alien ships from a dozen different species, all working together to map regions of space that had been forbidden under hegemony rule. Captain, said his communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from The Korath delegation. They want to discuss trade routes through the Spiral Nebula, Deho smiled. The same aliens who had once threatened to destroy humanity if they left their solar system were now asking for help exploring the galaxy. It was amazing how quickly things could change when people stopped being afraid of each other. Tell them we'll meet them at the nebula's edge in 3 days, he said, and send a message to Captain Sujin on the Harmony. Her diplomatic team should handle the negotiations. The Harmony was one of humanity's new exploration vessels, designed not for war but for the peaceful work of building relationships between different species. Captain Sujin had been a trade negotiator on Earth before volunteering for the space program. Now she spent her days helping former enemies learn to work together. On Earth, President So-young was dealing with problems she had never expected to face. Success, it turned out, brought its own challenges. "Madam President," said her aide, "we have 17 more requests for Earth citizenship from alien refugees. And the Mars colony is asking for permission to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Veltari Republic." President So-young rubbed her tired eyes. When the human fleet had left Earth, the planet had been united against a common threat. Now that the threat was gone, humans were spreading throughout the galaxy faster than the government could keep track of them. "Grant the citizenship requests," she said. "As for Mars, remind them that they're still part of Earth's government. They can establish trade relationships, but formal diplomacy goes through Earth." "Yes, Madam President." Also, Admiral Changsu is requesting permission to establish a permanent base in the Korath system. He says it would help with peacekeeping efforts. President So-young paused. Peacekeeping, that was humanity's new role in the galaxy, and it was proving to be more complicated than defeating the hegemony had been when the rebellions had started. Everyone had been united against a common enemy. But now that the hegemony was weakened, old conflicts between different species were starting to surface. Some groups wanted revenge against their former oppressors. Others wanted to establish their own empires. A few extremist factions even wanted to restore the old system under new leadership. "Tell Admiral Changsu he has permission for the base," President So-young decided. "But make it clear that we're there to help, not to rule. The last thing we want is to become the new hegemony." In space near the former hegemony capital, Admiral Yunji was dealing with the same problem on a larger scale. She now commanded a joint fleet of ships from 43 different species, all trying to keep peace in a galaxy that was still learning how to be free. "Admiral," reported Commander Haewon, "we have a situation in the Zarian system. 2 species are fighting over mining rights to an asteroid belt. Both sides are asking for our intervention." Admiral Yunji sighed. These disputes were becoming common. Under the hegemony, resources had been distributed according to the Empire's needs. Now that species were free to make their own decisions. They often disagreed about who owned what. "Send Captain Dongwu with a mediation team," she ordered, "and remind both sides that fighting over resources is exactly the kind of thing that let the hegemony control everyone in the first place." Captain Dongwu had become one of the galaxy's most respected mediators. His background as a military trainer had taught him how to deal with conflicts, and his experience working with humans had shown him the value of finding solutions that worked for everyone. The irony of the situation was not lost on any of the humans involved. They had come to the galaxy as explorers and had ended up as peacekeepers, trying to help dozens of species learn to live together without destroying each other. Dr. Kyung-ho, who now ran a research station that studied alien biology, often worked alongside scientists from species that had been enemies just months before. His latest project involved cooperation between human researchers and former hegemony scientists to develop medical treatments that could help all species. "The fascinating thing," he explained to a group of visiting diplomats, "is how much we can learn from each other. Human medicine focuses on boosting the body's natural healing abilities. Hegemony medicine is better at direct cellular repair. When we combine both approaches, we can treat injuries that neither of us could handle alone." Trade Coordinator Sang-ho had perhaps the busiest job in the new galaxy. Resources that had once been controlled by the hegemony were now available. for free trade, but managing commerce between dozens of species with different economic systems was incredibly complex. The Korath want to trade their energy crystals for human electronics, he explained to his staff during a weekly planning meeting. But the Veltari are offering the same crystals in exchange for agricultural products. And the Zarian delegation thinks both deals are unfair because they discovered the crystals first. What's your recommendation? Asked his assistant. Set up a three-way trade, Sangho replied. The Korath get electronics, the Veltari get food, the Zarian get manufacturing equipment, and everyone benefits. It was complicated work, but it was also incredibly rewarding. For the first time in galactic history, different species were working together as equals rather than rulers and subjects. The biggest changes were happening on worlds that had been under hegemony control for generations. Ambassador Jae-sung, who now served as humanity's representative to the new Galactic Council, had spent months visiting these worlds to help them establish their own governments. The challenge, he explained to a gathering of new planetary leaders, is learning to make decisions together instead of just following orders. Democracy is messy and slow, but it's also the only system that gives everyone a voice. The new Galactic Council met on a space station built jointly by 12 different species. It was a symbol of cooperation that would have been impossible under the old system. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered to discuss trade, settle disputes, and plan for the future. Governor Velthresh, who had resigned from the hegemony to become an independent mediator, often found himself working with the humans he had once been ordered to destroy. Your species changed everything, he told Ambassador Jae-sung during a break in council sessions. Not just for humans, but for everyone. The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in thousands of years. We had help, Ambassador Jae-sung replied. Change only works when everyone participates. But not everything in the new galaxy was perfect. The hegemony still existed, though greatly reduced in size and power. Some of their leaders had accepted the changes and were trying to reform their government. Others remained bitter and were working to restore the old system. Intelligence reports suggested that hardline hegemony factions were building a new fleet in secret, planning to retake control of the galaxy by force. Similar extremist groups among the liberated species were also causing problems, trying to establish their own empires. Freedom is more difficult than slavery, Admiral Changsu observed during a security briefing. When someone else makes all the decisions, you don't have to worry about making mistakes, but you also can't grow or improve. Despite the challenges, most humans were optimistic about the galaxy's future. They had proven that even the mightiest empires could be challenged by those brave enough to refuse intimidation. More importantly, they had shown that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Captain Sujin, who now commanded humanity's first ambassadorship to the outer galaxy regions, summed up the human perspective during a speech to the Galactic Council. 6 months ago, we received a warning that was meant to frighten us into submission. The hegemony told us to stay in our home system or be destroyed. They thought we would obey because we were small and weak. She paused, looking around the council chamber at representatives from dozens of species who had once been enemies. They were wrong about us being weak. But more importantly, they were wrong about what strength really means. True strength doesn't come from ruling others through fear. It comes from working together to build something better than what existed before. The applause that followed came from beings who had never thought they would be free to express their opinions. Humans had not just defeated the hegemony in battle. They had given the galaxy something far more valuable: hope. The universe was vast, full of wonders waiting to be discovered and challenges waiting to be overcome. Humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, building a future where all species could thrive together. The hegemony had warned humanity not to come. They had threatened destruction if humans left their solar system. But humans had never been good at accepting limits that others placed on them.